Hi everyone, in this video we will look at a pick example program. We will find the highest temperature by year using the grunt interactive shell. In most pick programs, you start by loading the data using the load command. You specify the data types at the same time. Here, from each row of the file, you are loading 3 data values. The first one is year, which is a character array or string. The second is temperature, which is an integer. The third is air quality, also an integer. You will assign the name records to these loaded data records. To check the loading is successful, you use the dump command to print out what has been loaded. Here our data set is small, with only 5 rows of data. We call each row a tuple or tuple. You can use the describe command to check that the schema is correct. Here we see indeed all 3 types of data are correct. Next, we will do some filtering. We want to remove some invalid temperature values and some invalid air quality values. And we name the records after filtering filtered records. Again, we use the dump command to print out the results. In this example, no records have been filtered. Recall that our goal is to find the highest yearly temperature. Eyeballing these records, you would want to pull together all the temperature for each year. To do that, we will use the group by command, just like in SQL. Here we group filter records by year and save the results as a grouped records. Let's see what we get using the dump command. We see 2 lines here. The beginning of each line is year, which makes sense, since we wanted to group the records by year. After the year value, we see an unordered collection of tuples with the same year. We call this unordered collection a bag, as in we have a bag containing a bunch of records, and we shake the bag so that the records are not ordered in any way. Now if we use the describe command to see the schema of grouped records, we will see that the year at the beginning of each line is given a special name called group, which is an alias for year that pick has created for you. Now we'll see how the year alias can be used. Since we want to get the highest temperature for each year, conceptually what you want is to pull the temperature values highlighted in red here out of all the records for each year, and then take the maximum of those temperature values. So we use the for each command to go through each grouped record. First extracting the year, highlighted in blue here, and then taking the maximum of all temperatures in that year using the max command. Since we only have 2 years, 1949 and 1950, we'll see 2 records as output when we dump the results. So 1949, temperature 111, 1950, temperature 22. Here's the whole pick data flow that we just looked at. First, we loaded the data records, and we filtered the records. Next, we group them by year. And finally, for each year, we get its maximum temperature. What you just saw was an example run on a tiny data set. The same program would also work for millions and billions of records too. But how to test your program without having to wait for a long time? The great news is that you can use the illustrate command to generate a small sample data set from the whole data set and run your program on the small data set to quickly check for issues. Here's an example. We use the illustrate command on max temp, which you may recall stores the results of our program. Here you see pick has selected 3 records out of our full data set. The records are transformed step by step, first as records when they are loaded, and then into filtered records, which is the second table, and then grouped records, and finally the results. There are a lot more to learn about pick. What we had just looked at was a small part of what pick has to offer, so I encourage you to try it out. In this lesson, we look at pick, a simpler way to write MapReduce programs. We walk through an example program to highlight some of the key operators in pick. And we discuss how the illustrate command can be very helpful in helping us test our pick program on large data sets.